welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders are lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders, in green our Category 2, in blue Category 3 and Category 4 in red. Now this is a tough climb. This is about a minute and a half of absolute pain if you give it big beans and you go for it, but that is going out on a full-out race effort.
We are now watching Anna Embring, of course, one of our Swedish riders in Category 1. We were talking about Hermansson earlier, but 10,000 AED, 29,838 Swedish krona as of my exchange rate right now on Google. And there is a good, strong group at the front here. Bremner, De Gracia, Madeira, Mare, Rios are here, and that to me, Matt, is looking like what is happening at the moment. So no real response coming from the Category 3 race either.
A little bit further back down the course, or should I say a little bit further back up the hill. This is the chasing group. Here we go. Hadlock is here. Hadlock's on the right shoulder. She goes over the side. The response comes from Hadlock. Koistanen's going to kick again. Koistanen now kicks. Koistanen takes the win. So Mina Koistanen wins Category 1 and the race from Hadlock. Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's qualifier race number 3. We're in the middle of October. It's the 15th of October, in fact, 2023. And we're getting ready for our women's race. My name's Matt Payne. I'm down here in the studio with the one and only, the person who can count far better than me,
Emma Martin.
Actually, that doesn't narrow it down
It's
very
not
much.
hard.
No, it's not indeed. And we're going to be bringing you all of the race action. Now, it's been a really busy week for us. I know lots of people out and about in the MyWhoosh community, and there's been lots of great rides going on. Lots of people getting out on the various community rides, as well as trying to fit everything in around work. And we were actually talking a little earlier on, Emma and I, about the fact that that's one of the wonderful things about MyWhoosh is actually when you're pushed for time, which we have been this week, you can just dive on and get out on the bike. I went off and rode in Belgium. I also went and had a little ride around Arabia as well. However, we are going to be in Colombia. Fantastic world for our women's race. Emma, take us through what is becoming a classic course for the women's race.
It is indeed. So 35 kilometres of racing, 537 metres of climb. We are indeed in Colombia, and we are heading to the Paso Alto. Now, this is a phenomenal race route. Flat start, a number of bridges, and a number of sprint segments along the way. Before we get to just shy of 22 kilometres of racing, then we've got one Category 2 climb, followed by a Category 4 climb, and that's where our riders will see the checkered flag. Now, Matt, this has indeed ended up in a sprint finish for a number of our women's categories before. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens today, because it's that first Category 2 climb that is the most important, because that is 5.5 kilometres long with an average gradient of just shy of 6%, but it does kick regularly close to 10%. The final climb, a lot less steep, with an average gradient of 2.9%. And with the close matching of our 4 different race categories, we often see a group come together on that final climb.
We do indeed, and it's going to be very interesting to see how our riders ride this in our 4 different categories. Categories 1 in yellow, 2 in green, 3 in blue, and Category 4 in red will be our first starters. It's a good race field here today. Some familiar names, 1 or 2 newer names in there as well. A real mix, Emma.
Yes, it is indeed. So Category 4 today, 17 riders on the start sheets. De Gracia is here. She's had a 1st and 4th this month. Maria Gill is here, a 2nd and a 3rd. Galeno, Bremner, a number of really good riders. Lloyd is here. She's been doing very well in those sprints, and Giraldo. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out today in Category 4. So we are down in the start pens. The riders are lined up. They are warmed up. This is qualifier race number 3 for October. And away go our women. Away go those red jerseys. Away go Category 4 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So up and out of the start pen. The group are all rolling well, and it looks like everybody is cleanly out of that start pen today. Now, as we mentioned, this is a pan flat start match, and you can see up on the top right-hand corner of your screen that gradient at the moment completely flat. That small little indentation you can see in that flat line, well, that is the first of the bridges on this course.
It is indeed. Those bridges are trigger points where you can do a little bit of damage, maybe test your legs, maybe test somebody else's legs out. And that is going to be really critical for our riders to know how they're going before they get onto the climb, to know what tactics they're then going to use on the climb. Are you on a good day where you can go on the offensive? Are you on maybe not such a good day when you need to be a little bit more conservative in your approach to the initial climbs and maybe save all of your energy for that one key move? So category 4 away looks like just fracturing and reforming at the moment out on the road. Gina de Gracia right up at the front of this group. Kirchner in here as well. As you can see behind, we do have riders being distanced out from the start at the moment. Our category 4 riders, the first riders away, 1 minute to 30 on the clock, and the riders working well.
Now, this category 4 women's race field match is becoming really interesting this month, and the reason it's becoming so interesting is because we're seeing a number of our category 4 competitors progress to category 3. So this month we've seen Giraldo go up, we've seen Idzik Gentili, we've seen Vink move up categories as well, and this has really opened up the race field in category 4 for me.
It has, and I think that's one of the things that I really like, is that because the categories are not fixed, and they're not a fixed predetermined point, because they're responsive to the riders that we get and how they are progressing. We get to see lots of different riders at different points in how they're riding. So we just seen one of our riders just dropped off the back, and that looks like that is Sion Tsai going keeping the pressure on here. 2 watts per kilo, just distance a little bit from the group, working, I think, almost pretty much as hard as the group is in front, but just lost that little bit of contact and now has to make a call. Do you wait for Trinidad or Race behind, or do you push on to try and get onto the back of this group?
Well, my personal choice would be to wait for the rider behind and ride together as a pair.
It's not a big gap though, Emma. 15 seconds down to 14.
But the challenge is the pack here are moving with draft, and the riders, you're right, Matt, are actually doing less than she is in this pack. But because they are in the pack, that draft, the ability to use less energy and stay in that group. You can see at the top of your screen at the moment, Giraldo's numbers are flicking. The watts are flicking between green and white. White meaning she is not benefiting from the draft. Green meaning she is benefiting from the draft. So able to ride at 1.7 watts per kilo and stay in the group, even though Sai is at 1.6, 1.7, 1.9, 2 watts per kilo, and she's going backwards off of the group.
Yep, that gap will open up if they're doing the same amount of power, so the same watts per kilo as you go through. It's a balance between the actual pure power, the wattage, and the watts per kilo. And of course, when we're on the flat, it is generally pure power that matters the most. The wind resistance of a rider is basically all to do with that aerodynamic profile, their size, their height, their shape on the bike. Now, of course, as we move through, if you're out on your own, you are going to be getting even more breeze coming over you, constantly in the wind, white for wind. And that's what we're getting for Gina de Gracia, who's leading category 4, as we're going to move across to category 3, who are down on our start line. They're there in those blue jerseys, and a slightly bigger field in the women's race field, and some familiar names like Golden Light down on here, as well as those riders that moved up, like Claudia Gentili.
Yeah, so the riders that have moved up, 19 riders on the start sheets today. Ospina is here, Alzat is here, Hinau, Galeno, Lopez, Araya, De Silva. You know, this should be a good race, and I'm really interested to see how those riders from category 4 perform in category 3.
Well, that move up is always an interesting moment as we go in towards countdown time. So here we go. This is the time when you want to be winding up, getting ready to put your pedal down and put the pressure on. It is the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Hub. It's qualifier race number 3, and away we go with category 3. This is the moment where we see if everybody can get out in a nice smooth pack. You don't want to lose contact early on. We've already seen how damaging that can be. Being ready for the offer. It's always better, in my eyes, I think, to pressurize early coming out of the pens to make sure that you're in that group or in front of it than in that group and at the back, or even worse, behind the group and miss it going out.
So we're in with Paulie Hino as the group roll out from the pen. This flat start allowing the group to get up to pace really quickly, so straight up to over 30 kilometers an hour. So as this group roll out of the pen, they are one tight bunch on this flat start. He now 125 watts, just shy of 1 minute. Her heart rate at 136 and cadence at 72. And that individual rider data is the data in the bar on the top of the screen. And that data is for the rider highlighted in blue. As you can see, Paulie Hino is indeed that rider on the right-hand column where you are looking at the rider names. So Category 3 now underway. Category 4 underway further down the road. They were the first race field to start today, 5 minutes ahead of our Category 3 blue jersey field.
So our riders out and away working well. Let's see who is going to be able to take this from the front. Let's see what the riders are doing. Let's see where they're going to be when we get to the base of the climb. That climb is absolutely critical here today as these riders make the way out. It's about getting settled in quick. It's about getting very smooth as fast as possible. Make sure you're in the draft. White for wind, remember, in those watts numbers at the top, at the center. As you can see, left-hand side, we have our satellite view. And you can see the difference between where our riders are. The leader in Category 4, currently at 3.8 kilometers. The leaders of Category 3 at 1.1 kilometer.
Well, Gina Di Grazia in Category 4 pushed on a little bit earlier on, and she's not extended that gap, but she's held it. So 6 seconds, fluctuating between 5 and 6 seconds lead for Di Grazia at the moment in Category 4. She's pretty much holding her power consistent at around 3 watts per kilo and shortly about to come up onto the first bridge. You can just see that coming up in front of her. That's going to be the first part, well, the first bit of gradient change we've seen this race so far.
Well, here we go. This is that trigger point. This is where she's going to just go up onto the climb and make her way up over. Say a climb, it's a little bridge. This is a climb for me every single time I've been riding in Colombia, but it's a great way to just stretch your legs out for me. My approach here would be to get out of the saddle, to sprint really hard and just take myself up over the top without relaxing the pace. Other riders will sit and keep the same watts and then naturally slow down. So for me, really key here to stamp down on the pedals and go over and really put the pressure on everybody else because it's not that long. You can do that, kick over the top, and if you're feeling good, you're going to be absolutely flying.
Well, I think the thing here for kicking over the top is not about going away from the front of the pack, but dropping riders off the back of the pack. And the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, the graphic here, like the satellite navigation style graphic, is absolutely brilliant for this. You can see that red group, the red group of Category 4 riders stretching there as they've gone up and over that bridge. Di Grazia is the rider we can see on our screen with the group behind, but look on the stretch of the group behind. One rider particularly in danger at the moment as that group has really stretched in length up and over that first bridge as we head now into the second bridge. So this is going to be really interesting. Can this Category 4 race field stay together, or are these bridges going to do the damage to the group and we're going to start to see riders drop off the back? Well, whilst our Category 4 race field challenged themselves over the bridges, our Category 2 green jersey wearers are in the pens at the moment. 22 riders in this race field today, and some phenomenal names. Barco, McAlpine, Mabin, Stefania Sanchez has been riding well. Holweller, since she came up from Category 3, has now firmly established herself. Gianti, Kokkonen, Hadlock, Botero, they are all in this race today. So in with Ella Vink, who has progressed up to this category. She held her own last week and was in the mix now. Away go category 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. This is qualifier race number 3 in October. We've got 4 qualifiers this month before our monthly final. So these riders all having an additional opportunity to get a verified ride in, 2 verified rides to qualify for the finals. 4 opportunities this month, and away go category 2 to see what they can do today.
So remember, make sure you download MyWhoosh onto your computer, onto your laptop, onto your tablet, or your phone. The application available on iOS, on Windows, and on Android. So you can put it onto your iPhone, for example, mirror it up onto your TV screen with a big Apple box or similar, and you can put it out so you can see nice and easily. The riders are going to be able to make the way out and come out of the screens and ride out on their bikes just like you can, and hopefully you're going to be there able to join in very shortly indeed. Really is keen. So when the riders are out and riding on the bike, they make the way out. Really interesting that the riders at the moment are in just about one group. You can actually see them chasing the rider just ahead in category 3 down the road. A late departure from the starter here. But please, guys, do jump on, come and join us.
So Barco comfortably in this pack, this group moving well on the road, and on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen you can already see one of those blue jersey category 3 riders just disappearing off into the distance. So this category 2 pack moving well. Now this, we said before, this flat start really allows the group to get up to speed quickly. Taking a look on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the category 4 race field. De Gracia is still 6 seconds down the road. And this group, well, we said the bridges were going to do their damage, and look at the damage being done to that group. They are all over the road.
They are indeed. It has fractured like crazy as they come in and through, making the way into that sprint. Absolutely critical, making the way in and along. And look at this. We've got a push on from Bridget Bremner here. So Bremner going through, taking the fastest time, a 20.498, and gets the green skin suit as our sprint leader.
Well, De Gracia moving on. She's keeping that pace consistent at the front. It's this group behind that are moving slightly slower at the moment, but the next uphill comes. De Gracia continues to push, and she's pushing hard at the moment. And there's less of a response coming from this group behind than I would have thought.
Yeah, it's a long way though, isn't it? And they are holding her. She's at 7 seconds, 6 seconds at the moment going over the bridge. And one rider, it's still a long way to the base of the climb. The climb coming in at 22 kilometers, 21.9k. Now into the bridges goes category 3. So going to be hitting this next segment. You can see the gradient going up over 6% at the moment, top right hand side of your screen. That's 6.1, 6.3. That's not cabbages, that is percentage. That is all about how steep it is as you roll over the top, going up from an increased gradient to a depressed gradient. And that means that as we drop down, as we lose the elevation, the speed picks up, and you can see riders really trying to respond. They're just kicking on down through there, and it has stretched the group. This is why when you push over the top of one of these small segments, it can do a lot of damage. Split that group, get more riders in the front group than in the back group, and the back group are going to be working really hard.
Well, the category 3 race field more attuned to what's going on up and over those bridges and paying more attention, I think, than category 4, or just more able to stay with each other as we drop into the start pen for category 1.
So category 1 is an absolutely stacked field of riders, and we are going to be seeing who's going to take a top spot today. Now, I don't see our winner from last week here, so that could well mean that it's going to open the door for somebody else, if no Mina Cloisterden.
Yeah, out racing somewhere else today. But let's not let that distract from the quality of the race field that we've got. Engstrom is here, Columbia is here, Embring, Zimmerman, Kong, Biarhead, Miller, Daniel Manshandy, Hermansen, Fua, Walkenhurst, London. I could keep going, but the Category 1 race field have already started. They are up and out of the pen on qualifier race number 3 for October.
So Category 1 on the road, all 4 categories away here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Good to see that we got Catherine Fua back with us again this week. Hopefully that recovery is going well, and I'm sure she's going to be back to her best and challenging all of the riders. And it is one of those things, isn't it, Emma, that if you do get injured when you are in great physical condition, you just recover quicker. You're going to get back to where you were faster. If you're a couch potato and not really all that fit, and maybe have eaten too many tubs of ice cream after your commentary, excuse me, sorry, then maybe it's going to take you just that little bit longer to recover from injury. Because it's true, isn't it?
It is true. You know, the healthier your body, the more likely you are to recover quickly. But also there is that small thing of not pushing too hard too soon. And, you know, we're all, you know, famous for doing that.
So I've just admitted to eating too much ice cream, and you just really have admitted to just trying to go too fast, too soon, too eager, too keen, and not listening to your body. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Right.
Don't make any of the mistakes that we make. Do it properly, do it right, get on the Sunday Race Club and show your form. You know, don't do the over-eager get on your bike after you've had an accident or you've been unwell. Don't eat too much ice cream, even if you think it's good for your vocal cords. But take a look. Excuses. This Category 1 race is well underway, and take a look at that. Within 1.1 kilometres, we've now got 3 groups on the road.
3 groups on the road, and we do have to remember that if riders have not ridden as many rides as they need to log enough data to be categorized elsewhere, and they join the Sunday Race Club, then they will join in Category 1. So if you are out and riding, it pays to get out and show us what you can do. We'll get that data in. We don't have a fixed time. We don't say, yes, we will guarantee you're going to be in 1 ride or 10 rides or after 20 minutes or a set amount. It's based on how much data we have so that we can get you into the right group. So it's really key to get out and ride. Ride on the Tune-Up Tuesdays. Ride on the community rides out there. There's lots of them running all the way through. Remember, of course, esports isn't dependent on the daylight. It's not dependent on not getting blown away like the BMX was at Sarion in round 5. It's not dependent on it not hailing like at the National Trophy Cyclocross that took place yesterday. It is about being able to ride 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. Jump on board and get riding. Really, really key. So do come and join us. Now, if you want to keep up with what's actually happening on MyWhoosh, make sure you follow the social media. Great way to find out what is happening. So that is really simple. It's MyWhoosh on Instagram and Facebook, because of course we know those platforms are linked. It is my_whoosh on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And of course, make sure that you jump onto Twitch TV. Subscribe on there. It's MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV. If you're on there, we'd really appreciate it if you'd give us a follow. Now, it's really easy to do as well. So Emma's on Instagram. It is at Biking Emma on Instagram.
Do you know?
Make sure you jump on there and get the messages in. And of course, make sure that you jump on and give me a follow. You never know what random shots of ice cream you'll get on at Matt Fix the Pain on MyWhoosh. Sorry, and on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter as well, Matt Fix the Pain.
Yeah, well, I've just had this little song going around in my head at the moment about little red Corvettes.
Why?
Well, because, you know, X, formerly known as Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know, that's where my brain is.
The artist formerly known as Prince, that was known as Symbol.
Yeah, I never really got that.
No.
I don't really get why Twitter changed to X either. What was wrong with Twitter?
Oh, okay. Elon Musk.
Never mind.
Please, somebody get in touch with Emma and explain it in words of 1 syllable. You wouldn't think that Emma does our social media for most of it. It's quite worrying, isn't it, that she doesn't even know why X has been changed to X. Anyway, whilst Professor Emma Martin is now languishing in her ivory tower somewhere, I'm going to get back to the racing with category 1 and 2.
I'm just going to mop up my tears of laughter.
So please do get in touch. Seriously, we do like to know what you're getting up to. It's always great to get the messages. We love the insights into what you're doing, and it really, really does help us to know what you're up to know how hard the racing was. And we know that everybody at the end of the race is going to give it everything. But that doesn't detract from the fact that we do get some really insightful comments about which courses are harder, which courses are easier. As we make our way through, fortunately, we're in Colombia and we are not out and in Arabia, where there are indeed some red Corvettes and Ferraris lying around the side of the course for Emma to be in there. And of course, because this is MyWhoosh, there's no purple rain coming down either.
No, look, there's purple algae, though.
There's purple algae. There is indeed. Maybe they're just...
How beautiful is that?
It is. Very nice, isn't it? And I think that's one of the things here in MyWhoosh that, and it's one of the great things, is that you don't have to go riding in bad weather, because of course in the Northern Hemisphere, which is where Emma and I are based, at the moment it is starting to turn pretty grim. I was actually out after the BMX. I was commentating on the BMX for the last 2 days, which has been amazing. Please do give it a watch. The UCI BMX Supercross, the World Cup Series, it's been absolutely stunning. This last round was the decider of the series, and we all know how exciting that is. I was out walking the dog afterwards, out in the dark, changing my brain over from BMX over to MyWhoosh. I tend to do this out on a walk, and it was absolutely Baltic. And I was thinking to myself, I'm so glad I'm not out on my bike right now, because it would have been like absolutely freezing. I thought, do you know what? I could have just jumped on the turbo trainer on the bike on MyWhoosh. It would have been, that is exactly where I'd have been heading if I had to jump on a bike and not go off and walk round an icy, muddy, disgustingly wet golf course instead.
Well, let's remember that our riders are from all around the world, all time zones. At the moment, some of these riders, they're riding indoors because it's too hot to ride outside.
That's a wonderful concept at the moment. I'm absolutely wishing that was true here. But we do, you're dead right, and it's great to see so many people riding around the globe from so many different nations. There's so many different flags on there. The people who need to get out more will be spending their time identifying every single flag. Some of us will just be looking at the names. However, looking at the screens, it looks like Natalia Idzik is on the offensive here in category 3. That gap currently about 10 seconds. And remember, this is the flatlands. This is the preliminary part of the stage. When we make our way to 21.9k, although it is 2/3 of the distance, the key thing to remember is it's very flat. There is hardly any elevation. This is all about being able to push through the wind, not about climbing.
Well, Idzik was part and parcel of the Watt Queens in category 4 up until the September final. She's progressed to category 3 and she's moving on now. In category 1, they are starting on the bridge section, and you can see the stretch on that group. That group stretched already, and all concertinaing back together again. But we do know already category 1 pack from the start pen have already lost riders out the back, and if the look of that is anything to go by, as they go across these bridges that are still to come, and you can see them lined up one after the other on the top right hand corner of the screen here, we may well see this group move to a smaller size before they come through the back end of this bridge section.
And this is one of the ways to eliminate riders. Remember, of course, that we have 5 riders going to be taking away prizes at the end of each of our qualifiers per category. So the riders are taking those prizes away, and that is absolutely key here as well. But of course, we know that the majority of riders are not riding for those prizes. They're riding to get better, to be faster, to be stronger, to get that workout, to feel good about riding your bike and feeling good about yourself and knowing that you're going well. That improvement is in there, testing yourself against the rest of the riders. As we hit the bridge, the riders testing each other. You can see those red chevrons showing the riders digging deep here as an attack goes off over the front once again.
Well, month in, month out, when I tot up at the end of the month how many riders have taken away prize money, when you think today in the women's race, there's 86 riders in this women's race today on the start sheets. Now, last month, over 40 women took home prizes on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. That is not a bad ratio.
That's a great ratio, isn't it? So last month, over 40 riders took away prize money, and we have today, just over 80 riders. It varies, of course, depending on where we are in the month, how desperate people are to qualify, whether everybody left it late, whether everybody had a really tough final as well, because we've got to remember, of course, in the finals, we have that team competition as well. So really it does mix it up, and it means that it does pay to be in a team. So guys, make sure you know where you're going to be in those finals. Get those feelers out early.
Yeah, it does indeed. And when you bear in mind that it's the top 5 in each of the 4 race categories throughout the qualifiers, and then the teams in the mix at the end of the month, there is something for everybody in here. And don't think you may not be good enough to join the party and get a little bit of the action, because head on over to mywhoosh.com, take a look on the website, click on the events page, click on the Sunday Race Club, read the technical guide, read the rules, get yourself on the start line, because there is something for everyone. All of those 4 different race categories cater to 4 different abilities. Get yourself on the website, get yourself riding and racing on MyWhoosh, and come and join us on the Sunday Race Club.
And make sure you get out on those rides. The community rides are out there. We are already out and about, and you never know, you might catch us jumping on board with you as well. Now into the Amazonian Sprint. So this is the first of those sprint segments. The group at the moment, though, tucked together. This is where we're going to see that group speed. I don't think we've got anybody particularly going for the sprint itself, but the pace is pretty quick at the moment. It's not the fastest we've seen because there's not an attack on at the moment. That group rolling through together. So the time, I think, will be down from category 1. Will it be quick enough to take them to the top of the table? It is. But, as you can see, Natalia Gonzalez of Category 2, Bridget Brebner of Category 4 in the mix. All very similar times here in that 20.5-second bracket. So, sitting in closer to each other there. And the only group of riders missing on our screens are the Category 3 riders here. But I'm sure they're not actually going to be all that different.
No, they're not. To be really honest, Category 3 was slightly slower than the others, but pretty much of a similar pace to Category 4 and some of the Category 2 riders. So not a huge amount of difference. For me, that's telling me that all the riders are racing as in racing the entire race through that segment, not pushing on for the sprint. Now, one thing that segment does tell me is that there are 16 riders in that leading Category 1 group. So Category 4, we've got a lone leader in De Gracia. Category 3, we've got a lone leader in Izik. Category 2 and Category 1, we've still got groups leading the front.
And whilst that pace, it is all the same. Don't forget, of course, that by the time we get to the finish, we do expect our Category 1 riders to be faster than Category 2, who are faster than Category 3, who are faster than Category 4, because, of course, all these categories are based on people's ability and the evidence that they put down.
We'll come back to that.
So,
remind me to come back to that, because I've got some interesting stats on that.
Okay. Stats and interesting are not in the same sentence normally in my world. However, in Emma's world, for those of you that don't know, Emma is indeed a professor. It's not just a nickname she has. She is indeed a professor. She's a doctor, a professor. She's got more letters after her name than the average alphabet. However, for me, what's more important, because I can be an avaricious person, particularly when it comes to racing. For me, the important difference between these groups is the prize money, which is why I'd want to be in Category 1, because as we move through the categories, we go from Category 4 to Category 1. The prizes increase. Now, quick reminder, if you have seen this before, what we're at. If you're new, yes, those numbers are right. 2,160 AED for a win in Category 4 today for our individual riders. running right down to 5th place, 432 AED. Now, the team classification and the individual classification, as you can see, are for the monthly final at the end of each and every month on the way through. And of course, that is when we need 3 riders from the team to count to take away that team classification. Now, keep it out that number, 2,160 AED, because when we move from category 4 to category 3, that drops dead center into a 3rd spot, so in the middle of the prize pool for category 3 riders. Now, top prize moves up to 3,600 AED, and 5th place 720 with a big spread in between. And of course, when we move from category 3 to category 2, we move up again, so the 3,600 drops into the middle, 6,000 AED this time, so the numbers continue to go upwards. The same is true on the monthly finals, and by the time we get to category 2, we're up to 30,000 AED for the team. Now, when we move from category 2 to category 1, the fastest riders get the biggest prizes, and our category 1 riders, particularly in the monthly finals where they're also working for that team prize, this is always the case. Quality riders and a quality prize fund. 2,000 AED for 5th, 4,000 AED for 4th, 6,000 AED for 3rd, 8,000 AED for 2nd, and a whopping 10,000 AED for 1st place. Bearing in mind, of course, in a monthly final that generally, if you're in the top 5, you're likely to be in a winning team or a team that also scores. You can see why we attract such big riders and such quality riders into the race field. Whichever race category you are in, with the chance of taking away these prizes, because the categories do change. Now, we do have riders around the world, and we have many different flags of many nations on our start list today. Who, or where, should I say, are we going for the Emma's Exchange?
We're going to Hong Kong.
We're going to Hong Kong on the Emma's Exchange. For those of you that don't know, Emma is our guru of all things financial, as well as being a professor. So she is going to
I'm a bit concerned about this, but never mind.
Well, I'm basically dumping anything that goes wrong on your doors quite firmly at the moment.
Exactly.
In terms of stats.
I am celebrating Lam Kong, who finished 5th in the Category 1 race last week. A phenomenal performance
well done,
by
Lam
her.
Kong.
Hong Kong dollars, 10,000 AED, 21,303 Hong Kong dollars as of my exchange rate on Google right now.
There we go. So, Lam Kong featured on our screens here. Well done, Lam, for going through. So, Lam Kong going through, taking a 5th place last week. A rider who has progressed. And we saw Lam come in.
She's been with us for 2 months.
Been in for 2 months, progressed through, and now starting to hit that prize money, which is brilliant to see. And of course, one of those many people in there. Now, Emma, as we make our way down, we are currently at 10.1k, which means we're about 2k from the sprint. So if you can contain yourself about telling us about your stats for a little bit longer. I know you're bouncing about on your seat, waiting to tell us the statistics that you've got in mind. We will just continue on with the racing, and then you can tell us the stats after we get through the sprint. Is that okay?
Yeah,
thumbs up from her over on the other side of the studio. Always a bonus. Not getting something thrown at me from the other side of the studio, I've generally found to be better for my long-term health. Right. So, as our Category 1 make their way through, we are already at 10.5 kilometres of a 35-kilometre course. Remember that this is a course pretty much of 2 halves. Although the first part of the course is relatively flat, it is longer. The second part is shorter, but of course contains the vast majority of our climbing with our 2 categorised climbs. As we make our way through, it's not all jungles. It is, of course, including our fantastic subterranean cavern here. One of my favourite shots here, very Tolkien-esque, as they go over the bridge, over the boardwalk with the flaming brands at the side, just waiting for the orcs and goblins to come diving down off the roof of the cavern. That'll make our riders go quicker, won't it?
Well, it's a bit like being chased by a dog out on the road.
By a jog?
A jog.
By a dog, yes, indeed.
I'm going to put my teeth in today
it's always
and engage my brain.
Oh, don't do that. Not when we've got stats coming up. So the riders on the way through, and yes, indeed, or a bear. actually saw a video of a mountain biker being chased by a bear. Oh my goodness. Absolutely scary as.
Oh, I really don't want to think about that.
I have seen some very odd wildlife out on the mountain bike. Actually, nearly ran a snake over. That's only the other
I
year.
was going to tell you my story about a student and a bear, but I don't really think I will.
No, don't. That's probably not a great idea, particularly if it involves students.
Yeah.
Right. So the riders on the way through the tunnels. As you can see, Category 3 and Category 2 both in the tunnels. And at the moment, Category 2 are about 1.1 kilometer behind Category 3. That means Category 2 are moving quickly because, remember, there was 5 minutes time difference between these riders in their start time. You can see that reflected in the clock at the top, coming up for 25 minutes of racing for Category 2, 30 minutes coming up on the clock very shortly for Category 3, and that is very telling indeed.
Yeah, well, the attack by Idzik in Category 3 has now been pulled back, and we've got a group leading Category 3 now, a group leading Category 2. We had a group leading Category 1. So it was indeed just De Gracia, who is out leading Category 4. It's going to be interesting to see if she has been brought back in as well as we continue to watch this Category 2 race. They're at 14.2 kilometres now into this 35-kilometre race. They are moving through the underground tunnels and they are one tight group. Now, on the right-hand side of your screen, there indeed is De Gracia. De Gracia leading the Category 4 race by over 1 minute now. Phenomenal effort time trialling away from this group. Now, De Gracia, she won the Category 4 race last week. As a reminder, we were in Australia last week on the outer loop, a very different type of course to today. A course that is flat with one climb in the middle and then pretty much a flat run-in, rather than a flat start and a climb at the end. So De Gracia moving away from this group at the moment and consistently moving away and continuing to tick up the seconds into minutes. Now, can she do this today, or is this group going to come back on the climb?
Well, I think it's a really interesting move. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. Different profiles suit different riders. So having a climb partway through, you think, yep, went away on the climb, got the time on the outer loop in Australia last week, means you can climb. But climbing mid-race on a climb that is only a few kilometers long is very different and will suit a very different rider sometimes to the climbs that come at the end of a long race. So we're climbing up the Paso Alto. Our first part of the climb, well, that is 5.5k. The second part of the climb is 3.5k, and we ascend all the way up. There is a rolling section in between, which is by no means easy as well. That is going to be very interesting to see how she gets on, and we'll see that in Category 1 that we're watching now as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, Category 1, the winning time last week was 1 hour and 6 minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Category 2, the winning time, 1 hour and 11 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes between
5
them.
5 minutes separating them. Category 3, 1 hour 21.
Okay.
Category 4, 1 hour 21.
Oh, so
now,
Category 4 and Category 3 were the same time.
Yeah, but what that tells me is Category 3 did not race hard. Category 3, very steady racing last week, and you can tell that by that time differential.
Or Category 4 were going like absolute express train.
I think Category 4, De Gracia was riding hard, but I think, you know, a 10-minute time differential between Category 2 and Category 3 is a big time differential. Yep. You know, those 5-minute race starts differences are there for a reason. They're there to try and get everybody to the finish at pretty much the same time.
And I think one of the things is that if you race smart, by not expending energy where you don't need to, it's very easy to actually hemorrhage loads and loads of time, because you just need to just take it easy, just roll along, and you start dropping those kilometers an hour off. Everybody in the group does the same. Everybody takes that same bit of rest on there. You do that a few times, and that time really does add up very, very fast. It really doesn't, it's hardly noticeable when you're doing it, and that is why I think it's very easy to ease back, but then go very hard on the climb. And that's where the outer loop, if you're going to do it, maybe the outer loop course, potentially on one of the Belgian courses, potentially on something like the Wollongong circuit, where they are short climbs but with longer periods of rolling, you're going to be eased off a little bit easier. You're going to spend more time backed off than you are actually right on it, because the climbs are relatively shorter.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the week before we were on the Hafit, and Vink had moved up. So Ella Vink had been riding in Category 4 and she moved up to Category 3 for the first time. And she took the win on the Hafit that day in Category 3. Now, you would think, that's a bit strange, a Category 4 rider moving up to Category 3 and taking the win the first time they're out. But when we actually looked at the time differential, Category 3's race win by Vink was only 1 minute faster than Category 4's race time win. And actually what those repeated efforts tell me is that Category 3 are so well matched, they race looking at each other.
Yes.
They are very, very steady. And actually we see something quite similar in the men's race, because Category 3 in the men's field is one of the biggest race fields and one of the closest men's fields. And I think we see that very similar in the women's race field too. There is something about Category 3. Category 2, the front end of Category 2 are really, really pushing to get into Category 1. They're out and out racing hard to position and move up. Yeah. Category 3, I just think are a different beast.
It is. It really.
Look at the pace of Category 3 at the moment.
I'm going to have to be really careful about what I say here, but really interesting what you can pull from that data when you do look at the in-depth data there. I have to admit to being a little bit of a data geek occasionally. More of an equipment geek.
But take a look at this pace, 1.3, 0.9, 1.6. Category 3 are moving very, very steady. They are a big race field. They are a strong race field. In Category 3 in the September final, there was 0.69 of a second between the first and second team. Between the top 6 riders in the September final, there was 1.1 of a second. They know they are so well matched in Category 3. They race differently.
Yeah, when it's so close, you have to race more carefully. You just have to be much more careful about where you spend your energy, because when races are won by fine margins, every time you push on those pedals, every single pedal stroke, it's critical to know what it's doing and how effective it is. And I think that is potentially why we're seeing that Category 3 is a very tight race category.
But the detail, and I think this says that the detail is important. You cannot just look at a set of race results and go, that doesn't make sense. How did so-and-so do that when they've only just moved up? You cannot just take the top line. You've actually got to look at the race itself.
Yeah, and that's what we love about racing. It's totally different depending on where you're at, who is in there, how everybody's feeling, what they've been doing before. Have they just finished the Tour of Turkey? Have they just come out of a one-day race? Have they had 2 weeks rest? Have they just done an activation ride? Are they on the back of being well rested, well fed, well recovered, and then fired up and absolutely full of enthusiasm? Or are they thinking, oh, thank goodness it's the end of the season? All these things all take an effect on the riders and how they perform, and that add in different courses, different climbs, different numbers of riders, different pack sizes, different riding. Do you have one rider who's sitting in the wind all the time doing all of the work, the rest is just recovering, or are you sharing it out evenly? This massive difference in what is going on really does change this up. Look at that. Who is missing from this picture?
Well, Category 3. But take a look at the picture. Category 4 setting the fastest time through that segment. So Category 4, De Gracia, she is the rider pushing on at the front. She's motoring at the moment. Columbi, now Columbi's interesting. Columbi wasn't here last week, but she did indeed take the win on the Hafit in Qualifier 1. So I'm not a betting kind of person, but my money would be on Columbi today to take the win. We're going to see how she fares. Bremner in Category 4, putting in a good performance there as well. Barco McAlpine, Gianti there as well.
Yeah, Bremner, of course, going for the sprints. We saw her go through the sprint in the previous sprint as well in Category 4, so clearly somebody who's riding for that. Now, we are dropping in with Celine Columbi, the green skin suit wearer in Category 1 of the sprint time. Now, Celine Columbi is a rider I flagged in the past as being one of those riders who, when it goes uphill, really comes into her own. The Italian rider, very, very strong on those climbs, a rider that you're going to watch, but I think she's now been with us long enough that people have recognized that. It's not just me. It's, the rest of the riders do their homework on everybody else. They're going to watch what those results are. They're going to be riding next to them and racing, and that's when you get the feel for who's going well where, by being in that race pack. And that's one of the great things, of course, about being on MyWhoosh, is that we get that same view. We're in with the race pack. We're able to see the same data the riders are alongside them in categories 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this is Bridget Bremner, who we're riding in with, who is riding strongly. Now, she was the sprint leader. And has been the rider who's been going for the sprint. Gina De Grazia has taken that sprint skin suit from her, courtesy of the last sprint points, I suspect, on the way through. However, the rider's now on to the climb, so this is the start of the first part of our climbing. This is the Medellin City climb, so heading up and away we go on the first of our categorized climbs. Now, this is the tougher of the two climbs. Category 2 climb, the categorization is based not just on the actual stats of the climb, but where they are in the route. You could have the same climb 4 times in the route, and at the start of the route, it might be a category 4, then a category 3, then it could be a category 2, then it could be a category 1 by the time you get to the end, because each time you ride it, it's getting harder because it's further through the race route. So what we're going to find, this is harder. Now, this is harder because it's basically bigger. It's an earlier climb. The climb at the end is a smaller climb and is a category 4 climb. So it's, even though it's at the end of the race route, it's actually got less elevation. And so as they go on to the climb commencing at 21.9 kilometers. The two climbs are separated by a very key section, of course, as well. So we can see that now. We're going to drop in, and I'm going to run through the course profile a little bit here, and we'll get a little bit of input from Emma as well, because Emma's no doubt analysed this somewhere along the way through and taken every bit of data she can from it. So the Medellin City climb is the first red block. This is category 2. Bigger climb, and it comes in beforehand, so definitely much tougher. You've then got the yellows intermediate section in between, and then the second part of the Paso Alto is the Bogota climb, which is shorter, 3.5k. And the middle section, well, this has been named by the professor opposite me, the data guru that is Emma Martin. Emma, it's known as the FRB.
The flat rolling bumpy section.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, it's a really interesting section because the first climb, the Medellin City climb, we can see that is a steeper climb. The average gradient just shy of 6%, and we will see the gradient pushed to around 9.5% in places. Now, for me, this is the key critical climb. You can make the catch across the flat rolling bumpy section, but you've got to be in contention to make that catch should a rider go away on the first climb. The second climb, the Bogota climb, the average gradient is shy of 3%. Now, we've talked earlier on today about how these race categories are so well matched. Actually, with a climb of that gradient, you know, I was almost going to say it's immaterial. It's not immaterial, but it is unlikely to split a group if they have survived the first climb together.
So it's not necessarily going to suit a pure climber. And I would say that 2.9, it almost doesn't suit a climber, because although the gradients do kick, rise and fall again on the way through, it's not there. Now, as you can see, all of this comes at the back end of the course. In between, in that flat rolling bumpy section, we have a sprint as well. But this is the key part. This is where the rider's going in. We've seen category 4 already on the climb. This is category 3 now coming into the climb. Now, they have been taking this steadier, but that doesn't mean that they're going to take it easy on the climb, because they've been saving their energy for this climb. So we're going to see where they're going to put that down.
Well, they're also about to see the back of the category 4 race field, and that'll give them extra motivation to catch. You can see on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, look at that, we've now got 3 race fields on that graphic, because the category 2 race field are coming behind as well. So as the category 3 blue jerseys go under the polka dot banner signifying the start of the climb, you can see the red jersey banners just further up the climb, and look at that. That's the green Category 2 race coming.
This coming, and when it joins Category 3, expect it to split it apart. So if hitting the climb wasn't enough to force Category 3 to ride harder, they're going to get the Category 2 coming chasing through. They're picking up riders. Looks like Isabella Geraldo has been just a distance from that group. She couldn't stay with them, but one of the riders has made it in with the group. I think there is at least one just about holding on to the coattails, but look at the power going down now in Category 2. The watts per kilo, we're seeing 5.8 just coming out from Tanya Howeiler at the moment as she pushes up towards the front of this group. She doesn't want to sit at the back. She wants to put the pressure on, and this is a move by Howeiler now. She's going up to the front of Category 2. She did not want to get caught on the wrong side of a split. So Giannetti, Tredin working hard in there. Mabin is in there, Kekkonen and Hadlock as well. They hit the critical slopes. They are going to make the way, and they are catching Category 3 riders, and the main Category 3 bunch is just ahead. When they come up on them, they're going to be able to take some draft advantage. Those numbers will go green in the watts. You can see at the moment, this is now about making sure that you use this to good effect. The Category 3 riders, well, if you look behind them, look behind the UCI banner, behind the MyWhoosh banner, what's happening? It's that Category 2 group. Here they come. What's going to happen? Well, they're going to come charging through, and this generally causes carnage.
Well, Category 2 are catching Category 3. It's going to be one huge group on this mountainside. How long are they going to be able to stay there, stay all together, or are we going to see those green jerseys just go straight up and over the top and into the red jerseys of the race field that started first today?
Here we go, front of the Category 3, and they have got Category 2 mobbing them as they go over the top. Giannetti and McAlpine working well, going up over the top, but with Mabin, with Tredin going through. You can see at the moment, Botero and Alze really have to push here. They're a little bit further back through the group in Category 2, working their way through. So a real multicolour mix with green, red and blue jerseys all mixed together as the leaders in Category 2 sweep up the leaders in Category 3, and this is now a mixed group. Who can hold on? Natalia Idzik is in this group. She's holding the wheels. It looks to me like Ramirez is fighting to hold the wheels. I think she's going to make the back. She's on the back of the group. It looks like we've also got Gentili in there, but you can see just how hard they're having to work, and they are towards the end. Maybe we're going to get a camera shot from above, maybe a helicopter shot. That might give us a good indication of whereabouts these riders are in this group. Here we go. Fantastic. Look at that. Blue jersey starting to come towards the back. We are on 6% gradient. So whilst Category 2 will be reasonably comfortable, I think, at this pace, the Category 3 riders are going to be right on the limit or beyond it.
Well, they're going to be right on the limit, but take a look how far up the road the leader on the road is today in that Category 4 race. There are many Category 4 groups up the road for this Category 2 and Category 3 race fields to catch, and they are going to wind their way up the Medellin City climb, and I wonder who is going to be the leader on the road when they get to the top.
It'll be very interesting, isn't it? Because Category 4 have worked hard and have gone clear. You can see they're further up the road. The gap at the moment, 1 minute 20 to the back of the next rider in Category 4 up the road. I think that's going to mean it's going to be about 3 minutes or so.
1.4 kilometres.
It shows you, doesn't it? 1.4k, but it is a huge time gap, and that is just because of the pace up here. If you look at the relative speeds here, when they're on a similar kind of gradient, I think we're going to see that Category 2 group catch, but only just. So my prediction is they're going to catch on the final climb on the way up, but of course, anything can happen here. We don't know how deep our riders are digging. The heart rate is an indicator, but it is very personal between our riders. Howeiler at 150 beats a minute, De Grazia at 171 beats a minute. Very similar pedal cadence, rolling around about the top 60s, low 70s there. continuing to push on. But remember, of course, Category 4 have been racing for longer as well, setting off in front, and that does take its effect. Across to Category 1.
Well, Category 1, they are looking up and they can see that polka dot banner indicating the start of that Category 2 climb. This is the final flat section for them for some time. They have started winding their way through the back of the Category 4 race field. And let's remember, Categories 3, 4, and 2 are all on that climb ahead of them.
They are indeed. And you got to remember that this is about who is where the Category 3 being caught by Category 2, Category 4, the first riders on the road. So it is Categories 4, it is Category 2, then Category 3. Now Category 1 hit the lower slopes. Here we go. Who is going to attack first? Who will blink first?
Well, who is in here? Walkenhurst is here, so is Fua, Kong, London. Manshandi is in here as well. So just taking a little look, Kansani is here, Barragan is here, Bjarhead is here, Takanas is here, Montoya is here. This is a loaded field at the moment.
Yeah, Hermansen, who had moved up from Category 2 in here. Looks like Larson as well. Lamcon just on the back of the group. So is Celine Columbi in that green skin suit. I think Zimmerman in the group.
Well, no, Zimmerman's
the nearest rider.
Zimmerman is the rider who has been dropped from this group. So on that
So
bottom left-hand side, she is indeed the rider you can see on her own off the back of the group. That is indeed Zimmerman. So Zimmerman, one of the riders who's come up from Category 2 recently. So great to see her in the mix until halfway, and she will just get stronger and stronger.
And that's how you go quicker. You ride with people who are faster than you. If you ride with people who are slower than you, expect your pace to drop. If you ride with somebody who's faster than you regularly, you will go quicker. That's straightforward, because you'll be pushing yourself even when you don't realize it. You would just be going that little bit quicker time and time again, and that's why we see our riders progress so fast. Riding regularly on the Sunday Race Club will make you quicker.
Well, so Fu is back in the mix here. Walkenhurst, Kansani, Manshandi, Columbi, who is going to make their way up the mountain. Interesting to see Columbi. She's in that green skin suit of the sprint points winner at the moment in Category 1. And she's gone from the back of this group to the front of this group as they have started on this climb. I think that's about intention and making sure she doesn't miss any attacks.
Yep, I don't think that was hard enough to be classed as an attack of her own, but I think at the moment it's nervy, not cagey, nervy.
Oh,
at the moment,
that's a good word.
Nervy at the moment, and that is because everybody's riding. I say that because everybody looks like they're riding to not be dropped, to not be the wrong side of a group. They're worried about being in the wrong place, not that they are making the right place to be. They're not making that split. They're not forcing the group away. They're not setting the pace. They're not distancing people, particularly at the moment. This is not a big rate of attrition.
There's still 12 kilometres to go. You know, they are only at kilometre 23 in a 35-kilometre race.
But as you said, Emma, this is the critical climb.
It is.
This is the key part of the climb where you can make that selection. You put somebody out at the back so that they are not in contention, as you said. You've got to be in contention going in over the top here. You've got to be close, because if you're going to catch back on, you can only catch back a certain amount of distance. Now, situation very similar in Category 2. Select group of riders, a little bit further up the climb at the moment. They are working their way through the rest of the race field. You can see at the moment, Category 2 leader, and that's going to be Tredin at the front of this group, is currently at the moment, I think, in 5th place overall, which means there are only 4 more riders on the course at the moment in front of a Category 2 rider. This pack working the way up here. I think we do have a solo rider interested on the road. Just going to take a little bit of a look through, but this is Kate Tredin. She is up the road. That gap, Emma, 29 seconds here. How much does she need as she comes into the end of this climb, going into the infamous FRB section?
Oh my goodness me. Well, that is a question and a half. So 33, 36, 30, the type of distance she's got now is good. She's got to hold it, and that's one of the key challenges. She's got to hold that to the top of this climb, and the top of this climb is not until 27.4, so still 2.4 kilometers to get to the top. If she's got a gap of around 40-50 seconds at the top, I think she's possibly able to stay clear as long as she is capable of holding a good pace to the finish.
You sit on that fence any longer, you'll get splinters.
Just wait and let me finish. If she's got a gap of around 15 to 20 seconds, she's catchable.
Okay. Not much difference, 50 to 15 seconds.
What, 15 seconds to 50 seconds?
Yeah,
not
huge.
Much difference.
It's huge difference.
Well, you asked for my discussion.
There you go. Me, I think 1 minute is the secure margin. If you're at 1 minute, you're almost never going to get caught. By the time you get to the top, you can blow pretty badly and not lose a minute on that last part of the climb on the way through. Let's see who is going to be right. Will it be Emma? Will it be me? Or will it be a totally different scenario, which is highly likely given the likelihood of getting commentators cursed and finding that all of a sudden the wheels fall off the wagon and she blows spectacularly, or of course sprints away up the climb like it's not there. All these things are possible, and that's why we love racing, we love bike riding, and we love watching our riders in competition here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
If we could predict every race, there'd be no point racing, would there? We just
look at a start sheet. Please do carry on.
We just look at a start sheet and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as we say, you know, sometimes we get racers get in contact with us and they say, "Oh, so and so's on the start sheet this week. I'm not going to do as well as I would normally do," or "Well, that's a guaranteed win for so and so because they're there."
And it doesn't work out.
Never make an assumption.
It doesn't work.
Never make an assumption. You have no idea how the other riders on the start sheet are going. You've no idea what they've been doing. The only thing you know is what you've been doing and how you feel.
And you've got that added dynamic. If this was a series where the riders, so let's say it is a series of races where the riders are seeing each other physically for 21 days in a row, and you're racing physically next to each other like a Grand Tour 21 days in a row. You see the same people for hours and hours every single day. You're in the same hotels regularly. You see them at breakfast. You see them when you're riding to the event. You see them on the race. You come out the other side. You go down. You're coming down for your massage. You're going to go see the team mechanic to tell them that you need the sprocket change. You know, it wasn't quite right, or you want your bar tape just doing it slightly differently. All those things, all the time you're doing that, you're seeing them. You know who's got a cold. You know who's looking a bit rough. You know who's looking absolutely fine. You see who's perky. You don't do this because we're all around the globe. You are reliant on what you see on the screens and what you can see, what people put out there, what image they throw out there. Well, you know, lots of riders have an amazing life on social media, which I'm sure probably doesn't reflect the reality.
Never believe everything you see on social media. And let's just take a look here at the moment. De Gracia, well, she's got 3 minutes, you know. She is flying. De Gracia, now let's just remind everybody, she held that time trial pace for around 3 watts per kilo, and that's what she's held all race so far. It's not the fact that she's outstandingly faster than everybody else. They've started climbing, and take a look here. This is the category 2 leader. She's second, let me say that again, second on the road at the moment.
And the pace that she's climbing at 4 watts per kilo compared to Gina De Gracia's 3 to 3.5. Kate Tredin is doing between 4 and 4.5 watts per kilo consistently at the moment. She's got the gap. That gap is now around about the minute marker, back to category 2, hovering between 50 seconds and a minute between the leader in category 2 and the chasers, led by Tanya Holweiler, with Patera Giannetti Hadlock in the mix, trying to close down Kate Tredin in category 2. Tredin trying to close down on the category 4 leader on the right hand side of your screen. Don't be fooled by that green skin suit. De Gracia is a category 4 rider, but she is the rider who has taken away the points win so far. She's the leader. There is one more point scoring opportunity in the sprints, and that is on the flat rolling bumpy section. That's the Amazon Rainforest sprint, another of our 300-meter sprint sections. But I wouldn't bet against De Gracia putting the fastest time from category 4. But don't discount Bremner and Galeno. we have seen riders in front also go hard, take a pace, set a pace, and then actually you only need to get your fueling slightly wrong or just push too hard in one of the sections in the flat rolling bumpy. So where you dip down and you've got a steeper gradient kicking in, you just feel under pressure. And it could be that the pressure will come from Tredin in category 2, because I'm sure that our race leader, De Grazia, will want to be the first over the line in all the categories, never mind just in category 4.
The race is not over until you cross that finish line, and that is absolutely key. Keep on pushing, keep on going. Now, this is the category 1 race field, and they are all still here. So Fua, Columbi, Biarhead, Manshandi, Kasani, Kong are all still in this group. Now, on the left-hand side of your screen at the bottom, that is the climb, that is the mountain, and that is how they are spread out across it. This category 1 race field slowly working their way through and up. They're at 25.4 kilometers now, so less than 10k to go.
So here we go into the last 10 kilometers for category 1 leaders. All of the leading groups now into their last 6 miles, if you work in imperial measurements, as they come up on to the upper sections of the first part of the Paso Alto. As they've made their way through, they've gone through the flatlands, through the tunnels, they've made their way over those bridges and boardwalks, and now it is all about getting to the top of the climb, getting to the finish. Quick reminder, the Medellin City climb, the first climb, category 2, 5.5k, and that finishes at 27.4 kilometers. We then have the FRB, the flat rolling bumpy section that includes the Amazon Rainforest Sprint. That ends at 31 kilometers, and then we have the climb segment, which is a 3.5k segment, which finishes at 34.5k, and then the final 500 meters to the line is actually relatively easier, but it is quicker because of it. So really interesting. Now, first rider coming up to the top of the first of our categorized climbs. This is a category 2 climb. This will be the first time of the day up the Medellin City climb. Gina De Grazia will stop the clocks on that segment, and this will start to give us a real accurate indication of the pace our riders are climbing this segment.
Yeah, it will do indeed. Now, De Grazia, the last time the women were out in Paso Alto, De Grazia finished 3rd in the category 4 race. Vink and Idzik were 1 and 2. Now, both of those riders have moved up to other categories. So De Grazia showing her form and showing it very, very strongly today as she goes up that Medellin City climb and is the first rider in this race today to go up and over. So De Grazia continues her charge towards the finish line. Is she going to make it across the line in first place today? Well, she may have, I say may have, the category 4 race sewn up, but I think she's going to get caught from behind because the category 2 race field, well, they are coming thick and fast behind. Tredin is there. She's leading that race. Holweller is leading the charge with Hadlock and Lopez. Mabin and Botero. That is a very, very strong chasing field, you know. So she may well have a good gap here as Tredin comes to the top of that climb. But that chasing field are class. That is going to be a really close race. 400 meters the gap. Will it be 400 meters in the future? Matt's shaking his head on the other side of the studio.
But you know what I'm saying? I think it's actually going to go out. I think that gap's going to go out. And the reason I say that is because we've got the leader in that polka dot skin suit of the fastest climber, Intradin, who gains that polka dot skin suit on the left of your screen. And I think this is all in now. She's got to go. There's no hesitating. Meanwhile, right-hand side of your screen, you can see that the riders are starting to break up because they know that now that they could be in trouble here. We are just starting to see a fracturing in this group. You've got riders like Kokkonen that are pushing on here, Hadlock pushing on as well. Everybody is trying to now squeeze on those pedals as they come over the top. This is the moment where the push is key. Howeiler leading the charge. Look at Botero go. She wants to be in the mix as well.
Well, they want to break this group up because there's 9 or 10 riders in this group. Now, if there are 5 prizes today in the top 5 podium places, well, Trin is up the road, which only leaves 4. There's no point carrying 9 or 10 riders to the finish line because then it is just a sprint. So the push coming from Conan, who's been on form, she's moved up to Category 2 from Category 3. Botero, Hadlock. Hadlock's been on some great form recently, you know, and is not one to discount, but they've got to pick the pace up. They've got to stop looking at each other and they've got to work together if they want to bring the lone leader back in Category 2.
And this group has split riders off the back. There are gaps opened up. And that is why you push at the very top of the climb, because that is when your opposition is at the weakest. It is about kicking people when they are down. When you are in that situation, you need to put in that killer blow. You need to distance them off the back, because even if they get back on, they're going to have expended a lot of energy at a point when they're in a low place already, when they've already been right on the limit, and they now chasing back on. This group swells once again, and the group has come back together. There is no point putting the effort in and then just giving that time away. Make the riders with you work, make them suffer, make them dig deep, because that means they're not going to be as strong coming into the finish. And remember, you can have a bad patch too. Everybody can have a bad patch. I mean, it's what we say on Grand Tours. Riders will always have a bad patch. You can have a good day, bad day, and you can have a bad 5 minutes in this race and be suffering. And if you've got a gap, if you've got the people who are likely to take advantage of that behind you, they might catch you, but at least they've not left you.
This Category 2 race is full on at the moment. They left the Category 3, or the front of the Category 3 race, towards the bottom of the climb. They've only got the leader in the Category 4 race in front of them. You know, they are absolutely pushing here, but the gap still 48 seconds to the leader in the Category 2 race.
It's yo-yoing.
I'm
doing a little yo-yo symbol with my hand the other side of the studio.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, it is. I know it's rubbish, wasn't it? I was always rubbish at yo-yos. But, well, except on a bike, I was very good at that because because sitting at a steady pace is definitely not one of my fortes. However, sitting at a pretty steady pace for our Category 1 riders in this group at the moment. It looks like you're onto the radar screens. Nobody going up the road at the moment. But this is coming up over the top now. This is interesting. They are not pushing hard enough to split this group. Celine Colombi here, just ticking away along those. Yeah, it's going to get a little quicker as we come underneath the banner. We're going to keep pushing. And as they come through here, this is not a decisive break. Okay, it's a small group, but it's not small enough for me.
Well, it's 9 riders in this group at the moment. So 9 riders leading that Category 1 race group. They've climbed the Medlin City climb the quickest, 16 minutes 52 seconds up there. Kasani, Fuerman, Shandy, Larson, Bjarhead, Hermansen, Kalumi, Gonzalez, Ruhr and Engstrom rounding out the top 9 riders. Less than half a second between them. That is one tight bunch.
It is. It's very, very close. And that says to me that there is plenty left in the tank for all these riders. Are we going to see a bunch sprint, well, a group sprint, let's say, when we come into the finish? Because it does level out pretty much at the top. It's only a few percent in gradient. It's very quick. It's a fast finish here in the Paso Alto on the women's race route. And that could be telling, but we are in that flat rolling bumpy section. We are making our way on to this little kicker here, 3.5% going up to 4 at the moment. It's going to keep kicking. It goes to 5. It'll then ease back a smidgen. Then it will kick again. And then it will be flat. And then it will drop down very quickly. And that transition into the next descent is fast. Now, right-hand side of your screen, you can see the Category 2 riders coming across the bridgeway here. They are at 29.9k. And at the moment, Fernanda Alze just having to squeeze on those pedals. She doesn't want to lose touch here. There is no point being off the back, out of the draft, and not taking advantage. And as they come in towards that sprint banner, They are working well as a group in front. Elsie about to make contact. Left-hand side of your screens, Kasani in the polka dot skin suit in the yellow jersey group of the Category 1s. She's also got Celine Colombi, the sprint skin suit wearer in Category 1 with her. That group, that is such a careful group now going through. This is not aggressive racing from Category 1 at the moment, and that means that I think we're going to get some real fireworks later.
Well, I don't think they're moving fast enough in this chasing group in Category 2 either to bring the lone leader back in. The gap was around 50 seconds at the top of the Medellin City climb. I'm looking at that. It's now around 1 minute, so it's fluctuating at the moment, the gap, but there's no real concerted chase effort at all. Trin time trialing her way towards the finish and setting that pace very steady. This group, they're just looking at each other.
And Trin, of course, has that added extra motivation. She knows that Gina Di Grazia is in front. The only rider in front of Kate Tredin is Di Grazia. Di Grazia knows that Tredin is coming. Look at the difference in there. Now, they are on different parts of the climb. They are different distance, but we're talking 100 meters. We are talking 20 seconds between Tredin, the leader in Category 2, and Di Grazia, the leader in Category 4. The leader on the road, and it won't be long till we start to see the polka dot skin suit coming up behind her of the climb leader in Category 2. It's going to be close. I think Tredin has going to get this as she comes into sight now. You can just see her coming up behind. That diminutive figure is going to loom large in the sights of Di Grazia because here she comes.
Di Grazia has just pushed on. I was going to say,
come on, Gina.
I was going to say you can see really clearly here the difference between Category 2 and Category 4. Di Grazia ticking up the climb at around 2.6, 2.7. She's pushed on now and really tried to dig to hold out as long as she can because Tredin is coming around 3.8 to 4 watts per kilo, and that is the difference between Category 4 and Category 2 races.
Now, Gina needs to just be careful here. Ease back a little bit, get a little bit of a breath, get some oxygen in those lungs, get it in that bloodstream, and they get ready to kick. Try and jump on this wheel and hold it as long as possible without digging into the red zone.
I don't think she needs to. I do not think she even needs to attempt to go with Tredin because she needs to win her race and not worry about what's going on in any of the other races. And very sensibly, she has not tried to go. Look at the pace of Tredin. She's riding at over 4 watts per kilo because she knows she's got a class chase pack behind her. Di Grazia really does not want to play that game. She's got a smart head on her and she's not even entertaining it.
There you go. Head over heart for Di Grazia. That's probably why I'd never used to win very much at all. Wasn't smart enough. Right, Kate Tredin at the front here, the rider who has taken the overall lead on the road here on the Paso Alto, on the Bogota climb, the final climb of the day with less than 3 kilometers to go. Kate Tredin leading this out. Kate is doing an amazing ride at the front. Meanwhile, Ursula Kasani here in the polka dot jersey. They are moving, but it is not quick. They're across the road. They are busy looking at each other. They are trying to recuperate. And this is the moment. If everybody is doing this, this is where you've got to think, do I go now? Do I wait? And if I am waiting, I have got to get some recovery done. Make sure you've done your last gel. You've got to put on board gel. This is the time to use the time. Gel on board, drink on board. Make sure that your straps, that your bow is tight on your shoes. Make sure that you're comfy. Make sure that you're in the right place. You're ready to focus. This is now critical. 4 kilometers to the summit. 4K. That's all. We've done 31K. You have to focus for this because it's going to be won or lost in the next 4 kilometers. And so you've got to be ready.
I'll tell you something. The class in that front of that Category 1 race field could all stay together till the finish today because with 4 kilometers to go, they've had a period of recovery.
That's going to be manic.
And the gradient is not particularly steep. It's going to take a massive kick and a massive effort to go clear of the quality of this race field.
But you've got the chance. These guys are looking at each other. Be brave, be bold, go for it. Start behind, use the draft, rock it through, and go for it because Why not?
Well, I think one of the things that's going to be key is, can they catch the Category 2 pack that's on the right-hand side of your screen? That is the chase group in the Category 2 race. The lone leader now clear, over a minute clear, but this is a big pack behind. They're pushing because that's about the podium places in that Category 2 race. Now, if the Category 1 race field catches the Category 2 race field, albeit it being 900 meters up the road, there could be a little confusion, but that Category 2 race field, I'm not sure they're going to stay together for much longer.
No, here we go. Wind up going on in the Category 2 race there. Giannatti going over the little rise there with Mabin, Gonzalez and Alzate, and that has provoked a little bit of a response. You saw those red chevrons kicking in, you saw the gaps open, but they've come back together again, and now this is about who wants it the most, I think, because they're going to keep kicking. If they get caught by the Category 1 riders, which is possible, then things are going to get very, very confusing indeed. In some ways, it's better now to eliminate that out, but they're going to be aware that if Category 1 catch them, that will assist the riders behind that they've dropped to come forward. So a real game of bluff at the moment. Do you go for it? Do you open the gap? Do you bank on the riders behind not being able to stay with Category 1 when they do come through, if they come through, when they come through? Chess on wheels.
Yeah, it's a game of cat and mouse at the moment between these 8 riders in Category 2. Very shortly, they're going to see Gina De Gracia, the leader in the Category 4 race. She's just 8 seconds. There you go. Look at that coming into sight now. That gives additional motivation to make the catch. But they are really playing with each other, this group. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. You know, they are trying to break each other, but they're also trying to watch each other to see who gives in first. Well, De Grazia is that lone leader in the Category 4 race. She was the leader in the race on the race field today for so much time. Now, let's not forget that Category 4 race did indeed start first. It started 5 minutes before Category 3, 10 minutes before Category 2, and 15 minutes before Category 1. Caught by Category 2. The leader on the road at the moment is the leader in the Category 2 race, Kate Tridden, but they are absolutely motoring here now, trying to make the catch. They're coming past the leader in the Category 4 race, Gonzalez, McAlpine, Mabin, Alzat, Gianti. Absolutely motoring.
They are flying indeed. They're on the way up. This is interesting. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what happens. Kate in on the front. It's De Grazia on the right-hand side. We're following this Category 2 race. It is 1 minute now. Tridden should have this, surely. We are at 34k, 1k to go. Surely they're not going to bring this back. Another big kick, and now you can see Gina De Grazia has gone off the back of the group. She is the Category 4 leader. She does not need to push here. She has got the time and the space, and in front of her, this race is opening up. It could well be that we're going to see Category 2 hitting the line first. I think they're going to be ahead of Category 1. So here we go. This is the squeeze on. Time running out now to make a move. 1.2k to the finish, and you want to come through with some speed now. Look at the kick here. Alzate going through here. Just pushes on, eases back. Nobody is putting in the big move at the moment, or are they? No, and another ease off. Now, Emma beside me here is sat here shaking her head.
Well, they've run out of road to catch Tridden. I think Tridden is now going to win this. She's going to sweep round the left hand. She's got a couple of bends now to go. This is the race behind for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. And they are absolutely playing with each other. No one willing to take it out. Look at Alzat. Alzat just backed off from the front at 0.9 watts per kilo.
Wow.
Nobody wants the front of that pack. Nobody wants to lead them out.
Here we go. It is Tridden on the left-hand side as they mess about on the right-hand side. Tridden setting that pace. She goes underneath the banner. She's going to add the Bogota climb points to her score. She's maintained that gap. She could well have the fastest time up here on the second of the climbs. She's now with less than 400 meters to go. Sweeping left, tight right, and then the left-hand turn to the finish here. It is not crazy gradients, but it is a tricky one to call. You do not see the gantry, the finish line for long, and so round the sweeping left boardwalk. Tadin on her own at the moment, 300 meters to go behind. We're starting to see it split and reform time and time again. No substantial gaps by the look of the time clock in there. It looks to me that at least Gonzalez, Hadlock, and Mabin, Giannatti are in there in the mix. I think it's a little bit further back to Kekkonen and Alzate and McAlpine. We're going to see it is yo-yoing back in that pack. They are still pretty much together according to the radar on the left of your screen. But the rider who is going to come up here, she is going to see the line first. She may not have the polka dot skin suit that has gone to Emily Mabin for the combined fastest times up the 2 sections of climb. But here today, she's going to take away a race win in Category 2. The first rider across the line here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club on Qualifier Race number 3. It's the women's race. Kate Tadin takes the win in Category 2.
Well, she takes the win in Category 2, but the race is on for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Gonzalez is leading it out with Gianti. Alzate comes up and over the top as Howeller and Hadlock are in there as well. Gonzalez at 8, Kekkonen at 7.5. They've got one more corner to go. Alzate's pushing. She's pushing hard. She's going to go around this bend. Gianti is coming. Is she going to make it? I think Alzate's going to do this. Gonzalez may finish in 3rd with Gianti in 4th, but it's side by side with Kekkonen. That is a photo finish because it looks as though Kekkonen came through for 3rd with Gianti in 4th. That was fractions of a second.
Well, what a close finish. It's come down to a photo between those riders. Very, very tight as they come in and through. We say a photo finish because they're all split by the amazing systems here on MyWhoosh, making sure that we get accurate data coming through, checking that all the riders are spot on in terms of time as we see Category 1 now start to engage the afterburners, starting to light up the race. Kasani, who has been riding so strongly, has now lost that polka dot jersey to Fua. Interestingly, Catherine Fua is the rider who's going to take that. Just in front of them, Gina De Grazia, I think, is just going to come through in front. De Grazia definitely going to take the win in Category 4. But in Category 1, Lisa Hermansen has gone, a rider who we've watched progress up through the race categories from Sweden. Hermansen is on the attack. She's dropped Fua at the moment for 3 seconds. It's round the corner she comes. This is about the run for the line. Has she got the pace and power? Hermansen is going to come across the line to take the Category 1 victory. Here she goes. She takes it. A sprint behind with Bjarhet Bjur coming through behind to take away 2 and 3 with Columbi in 4, Engstrom in 5. What a race finish, and on the way through, Gina De Grazia taking the win after a fantastic ride in Category 4.
Wow, that was amazing, wasn't it? That was qualifier race number 3. We were in Colombia for the Paso Alto. Hermansen took the win in Category 1. Bjarhet in 2, Fua in 3, Colombia in 4, Engstrom 5, Gonzalez Rua in 6, Larson 7, Kasani in 8. Tridden took the win in Category 2. Phenomenal racing today.
Phenomenal racing. Don't forget, all the results at the moment are live. You can get those on the MyWhoosh.com website. And of course, they will become unofficial when the race ends and then verified when all of the data has been checked. It has been an absolute pleasure watching the racing. Putting words to the action, please do get in touch. It's at Matt Fixer Payne for myself. Where can we find you on social media, Emma?
You can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram.
So please do get in touch. Make sure you join us on Twitch TV. It's MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV or on YouTube for the men's race that's coming up. We are returning to Belgium for that, and it has got the riders' nerves jangling. We know that for certain. It's got our excitement levels raised here in the women's race. We'll see if the men's can live up to what was an absolute cracker with the fireworks on that final climb of the Paso Alto. But from Emma, from the whole team at MyWhoosh behind the scenes, thank you very much for watching. Thanks to our riders for racing. But from me, Matt Payne, it's time to say goodbye. Stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.